record on his computer. All right, so today we are going to be introducing randomness to our programs. We're going to add random number generation. Very exciting. So let's lead in with a little discussion about libraries in Python. So in Python, libraries or modules, as they're also called, are collections of variables and functions that are going to perform similar tasks. And the reason that all libraries aren't included in Python by default is because they usually have somewhat more niche applications, and if you include all of them, it's going to take extra space and extra runtime for our code when it's running that would be wasted if we're not going to use that functionality. So we're going to grab that functionality only when we need it out of the libraries that we are going to use. So when we have some specific functionality that we need to do, there's usually a library to accomplish that task. People are developing libraries of all kinds for different applications all the time, especially in Python. Python is a very popular language just across the world, and people are building libraries to do different things all the time. So if you have a specific application you want to build in Python and you need a specific thing, you can probably find a library to do that thing on the internet. So with all that information about libraries in mind, if I want to access a library, I must first import it. And we can do this using the import keyword with the name of the desired library. And there's a large number of libraries that are available to be imported into your programs that are just kind of included with your Python package when you download it off the internet. But if you want to import a library that someone else has built, you might need to download that library and then tell Python how to find it so that you can import it into your programs. But once you have access to that library, you can just say import random at the very top of your program before you do anything else. And this will give you access to whatever library name you put here. So today we're going to be talking about the random library and a few of the functions within said library. Does this information about libraries and how to access them and put them in our programs make sense? Does that all track? All right. So if we want to generate actually random numbers in our programs, I'm sad to say that we are not able to do that. The random library in Python is going to use a mathematical process to generate its random values. So it isn't actually random. Computers aren't really capable of true randomness. It's a thing called pseudo-random. It's random. It's random to our eyes. It appears random because the algorithm that they use is very good. It's very complex, and it's essentially using the current time of day to shift its random value. So if you click your run button at a different time, which you always will, it's always going to be a different time from the previous time you ran your program, your random sequence of numbers that you get is going to be different. So even though it's not truly random, it's all generated by some mathematical algorithm, the random values produced they might as well be random, at least to our eyes. We can use them and assume that it's going to be just about random. So with all that knowledge, the three functions we can use out of our random library are random.randint, random.choice, and random.random. Those are the three primary ones we're going to look at today. So look at each one individually. The randint function, random.randint, is used to generate a random integer. That's where our name comes from, rand int. And it's going to generate that random integer from a specified range of values. So if we import random, we can make our die roll variable equal to random.randint from 1 to 6. So any number between 1 and 6 is possible here. Unlike the range function that we just learned about for for loops, the randint will include both the starting and ending numbers. So both 1 and 6 and all the numbers in between are possible results from this randint. So just a minor inconsistency to remember here is that the ending number in our randint will be included where it wasn't in a range. Our second method, our second function today, is random.choice. This function allows us to select an element at random from a list, where lists are a sequence of values that you hold in square brackets, and each value or each element in your list is going to be separated by commas. So we're going to learn more about lists in the future. They're an important programming topic for computer science as a whole. Learning how data is stored is very important. But for right now, you just need to know what they look like. So if I import random and I make my flipped heads equal to random.choice, and my list is true and false, I can I have my square brackets and I have my two values. It's going to equal true or false. It's going to select one of those at random. So if flipped heads, so if I randomly got true, I'll print you flipped heads. If I did not get true, I'll print you flipped tails. Does the choice method make sense? The choice function? It didn't stop for the randint either. Does both those make sense? All right. And our last function is the random.random function. And random.random is used to generate a random float value in the range 0 inclusive to 1 exclusive. So the smallest possible value is 0, and the largest possible value from random.random is 0.999999 for a while. You're never going to get exactly 1 from here. And this can be used to generate a random number by doing some multiplication. But generally, if you want to find an integer, it's easier to just use the randint method, the randint function. So just a little example, I can make my random.random, save it into my num, and then print my random decimal. So if I look at, where's my, I closed my sandbox. Let's find the sandbox program that I made for this. Random numbers. All right, so I have those 3 examples here. So when I run my code, I rolled a 4, I flipped heads, and my random decimal is 0.89887, a bunch of decimals. If I run my code again, this time I rolled a 6, flipped tails, and my random decimal is 0.0843. So each time I run, I'm going to get different values for these 3 things. It's going to introduce that element of randomness into my program. So any questions on how we can include randomness in our programs? Does that all make sense? All right. Then I will stop my share.